Hey, welcome District 25 to our first remote and our first episode with guests. We're doing big things today.
You got to take major steps each time. So here we're coming to you live from beautiful St. Charles, Illinois, the ICE 2015 conference. It's been a wonderful first day of general sessions, and they've had 2 days of conferences and half-day workshops prior to this. And a lot of themes that have been coming out, all about different areas of integrated technology, professional development, and support. But mostly we know that not everybody has a chance to get here. So there are definitely a lot of other ways that you can stay connected to a great conference like this. Tim's going to talk a little bit about some of those ways.
So one of the things, since we unfortunately can't get everybody in our district out to ICE, which is, kind of a bummer, but that's kind of just what we're working with. One of the things you can do though and participate from home is one of the subjects we've talked about in the last few weeks, which is Twitter. If you remember, we talked about the ability to kind of group tweets together with a hashtag. And actually the ICE conference has its own hashtag, which is ICE 2015. So if you actually go on,
or for you really want to follow along, it's just ICE 15.
Oh, is that what it is?
You can use the hashtag
there
ICE 15. That will keep everybody connected.
Either one of those things. But let's do ICE 15 instead. And if you search that, it's kind of, again, talking about Twitter being that big community. That's what this whole conference is all about, is linking people together, sharing ideas. And on Twitter, you'll be able to find pictures to kind of participate in it by seeing what happened. But more importantly, links to different resources and to different people that down the line can give you some ideas for what to do in the classrooms.
And one of the interesting things that they added this year, again, for you to follow along, is a great app that they've updated with a lot of information for the presenter handouts, as well as notes that all the participants could take while they're actually in the session. So if you go to either your Android device or your iOS, you can download the app. Just search for ICE 2015 or ICE 15. You'll find it in the search list. Or you can go to their website and look for the ICE conference and just drill down in, and you can search by presenter. They have session notes and handouts. And then this Google form, which the participants can all join in together to back channel about what's happening. So again, even though you can't be here in person, you can get a lot of great resources, stay up to date on some of the big trends that are going on, and also get some idea of what people are discussing and thinking about during all of these different sessions.
Sounds good.
It does sound good.
One of the other great things about ICE here, and one of the ways that you will be able to sort of participate after the fact, is the fact that we actually have several of our staff members from District 25 presenting here at ICE. And actually, 2 of them were nice enough to stick around after their session to join us, talk a little bit about what they presented on today. And again, we really, with this 25 with Tech 25, want to stress all the resources you have available to you across the district in terms of our community, our District 25 community. And so with that, I'd like to introduce you right now to our guests. They wanted music.
We did.
Here with Kaylin and Ellen from Ivy Hill. And the room just over an hour ago, not this room, but a room just like it, didn't look anything like this. It was packed house. End of the day, everyone's going crazy for what they're talking about. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But before we do, I think it's important to talk a little bit about the conference in general. And have you guys seen any big themes that you've come across for this year, or any big presentations that you thought really influenced your way of thinking so far in this day one?
Well, you were talking about Twitter. I definitely went to a couple Twitter sessions and liked them. I always come to these sessions wanting to go away with like a couple ideas, and then I consider it like a successful session for me. So today I saw a Twitter session for elementary level. It was a first grade teacher, and it was terrific. It gave me some good ideas for the LMC, and she talked about doing a book club across the country, which I loved that idea. So I'm thinking I'm definitely going to take that back with me. But so we saw some Twitter sessions, and we saw a bunch of coding sessions, and
I think makerspace is the other really big thing. We saw Sylvia, Maker Sylvia, who is a 13-year-old and is awesome. She's made books. She has a YouTube channel. The fact that she was presenting at ICE multiple times. She's made many presentations, and I was nervous.
Yeah, they calmed us down when we saw the 12-year-old up there.
Which is fantastic. But I think it just constantly reminds me that kids can do so much more than we think that they can. So kind of like that makerspace idea, give them a bunch of materials and see what they can do with them. It's really cool for the creative side.
Well, and I know there was a lot of excitement coming out of the SIT conference, which is the Students in Technology, where they get to present, work with each other about really what you're just talking about, that role that kids can play, the fact that they can run their Twitter accounts for their classrooms and really participate in ways that maybe maybe underestimated in a way. Was there anything else in that space that you thought would be able, that we could bring back to the district soon and implement, that you'd be excited to kind of, I don't know, see what kids could do with it?
Well, I definitely think at the primary level we should be or elementary level, we should be considering doing some more maker activities, and I think we should be doing that, offering opportunities. What do you think?
Well, a lot of the tweets that they had, I mean, the kids were creating more. I know we've been pushing for our staff to get connected, but kids, especially with these personalized learning projects, they are able to, they come up with all these awesome questions that we have no research about. It's something that you can't just look up online. So being able to have them connect with people that are experts in the field and ask them their questions, I think would be really useful.
Yeah, during our session, we had a gentleman in the group suggest that, was it at the SIT conference next year? The coding is the theme. Is the theme.
Next year,
he was suggesting that we get some of the students, our students, to come present.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, and I thought that would be a great idea, because we've got students at Ivy who have been doing this now for 2 years. We have a 2-year program going, so that might be something to look into.
And then the other side of that kind of maker space or instructional design was obviously the hardware, some of the tools or some of the, fun gadgets that they have. Was there anything that you guys saw either with Sylvia's presentation or on the exhibition floor that you thought was really interesting that either we don't have or that we could use more of?
Well, she commented in her presentation that they make their own tools for a lot of these things. She's like, cheaper the better, and she was, they go to Home Depot and they go to these places and they get a lot of it. So it was nice that she was saying, we can do this. We don't have to have a lot of money to implement these programs too.
Yeah, and I agree. We had a good conversation about people who were even talking about just IKEA and what they can do with. Not only that you bring it, the kids could build it, because you have to build everything, of course. And then also too, that it gives you a lot of flexibility, and you're not overcommitting your resources, that you could, if it breaks, it breaks. And that's part of the deal.
Right.
So yeah, I think that maker theme has been kind of a dominant one here as well. And obviously what you guys, came to talk about was more on the coding and programming side. But I still think it has an underlying theme of empowering kids. The idea that kids can participate in this, they can know it. It's something that they could be interested about. So maybe if you could just walk our listeners through at least a little bit, what was the nature of your presentation? Why did you want to bring it here? And we could just start and go from there. If you guys could just give a brief overview of what today's topic was.
Okay, want to start out?
Sure. Okay. So we kind of just did the overview of our program. We went through how we just started off hearing about the Hour of Code, and then not really knowing anything about computer programming ourselves. But saw how it kind of made a lot of good ties to the kids with things like Angry Birds and Plants vs. Zombies. And when we moved from just doing it a few times last year to kind of really connecting it to curriculum this year, and doing it 6 hours this year.
Yeah, we had a curriculum committee formed for the summer. So we all met, and we had an elementary teacher, a primary teacher, intermediate, Caitlin, myself, and Art too, right? And we formed a 6-hour curriculum for this year. So we're doing one per month. And, we talked about our scheduling and how we rolled it out to the staff and how great they are about wanting to do it. And so we kind of laid out how we did it. And then we talked about activities that we've been using so far that have been really successful.
And I know hearing some of the comments from the people who attended, one of the things is always, it sounds great, it's a great idea, but what were there any resistance points or hesitation on anyone's part about where you'd find the time, or is it a priority, or any of those things? And if so, how did you guys deal with any pushback that was during the planning time?
Yeah, we got asked that at the session, and we really did not get any. We tried it out the first year for an hour, and everyone signed up. We said, if you want to sign up, do. Everybody signed up. We're really lucky that our staff is always really willing to try new things. And so everyone loved it. And then now we've rolled it out for 6 sessions, and everybody's really on board.
I know they fit it in usually days that they have no specials. So they're normally doubling up on a subject. So instead of doing it that month, they'll just go ahead and do coding. And I think still, as soon as they see their kids, I know some of the nervousness comes from not knowing programming, and we don't know programming.
Right.
So I think we were even kind of nervous. What if they have questions and we don't know how to answer them? But again, I think the student taking off with this and they are doing things above what we are capable of is like the truly fantastic thing about it.
That ownership.
Yeah, the kids take off and we're good.
Well, and so this is a little off topic, but I'm just curious about your thoughts. So there's this idea that I think a lot of people see, here's your curriculum and then here's coding. And it's fun to do if you have time and if you have buy-in. But have you seen staff or everyone else understand that, hey, coding and programming actually is connected pretty deeply with some of the components of the curriculum, math and science and so forth? Or is that still a bridge to be built? Like saying, hey, this isn't just an add-on. This is like part of the curriculum that we could match up.
Well, recently we've been doing, like, they just created Frozen, a new a coding game.
I thought that was a movie.
I know, but it's also a coding game.
True. So true.
And so they were so excited to see that, but it's got to do with angles.
Okay.
And so the kids were like trying to figure out angles to get her to go on the ice in a certain way. And then the teachers were like, oh, this is just like what we were doing in math. So
That's
they
great.
chime in, and then they're like seeing the connection. So we've had a lot of math connections
That's
occur
great.
by the teacher just standing there, saying, we just did this unit, in math. The other thing though is the spelling bee that we did, where it's like a word search, and we took vocabulary words from their science curriculum or their spelling words, and they had to code the words in it looked like a word search, and they had to find the word and then code how to spell it. And I just had a first grade teacher tell me last week that she's taken that now to her classroom, and it's a part of a center
That's
now
awesome.
that they do. So we're really happy about that.
And I think we've tried to push, and it's only gotten more reinforced, that we're not focusing on computer programming.
Right.
It's all these
Scary
skills that they're
word.
doing.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't care if they learn C++ and Python. I care that they're knowing to keep trying at something, not fear failure. Those kinds of concepts.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great kind of segue to talk maybe about your next steps, because it really highlights the fact that I think a lot of people get scared by computer programming or scared by coding, but there's an underlying skill set that's all about that. Perseverance or logic, understanding sequences, all of those things which are a part of what we want kids to be able to do. So it's great you guys have been able to do that. Final question as we kind of wrap up your presentation is, where do you go next from here? Where do you guys want it to go? Or, what would be your best aspirations for that next iteration of what you do with coding?
I think definitely more, we've already done a lot of co-teaching with the lessons, but I think even more like tying it in the curriculum, like where it's not a separate hour that we're doing these activities.
Yep.
So finding a tie, like they're already doing the spelling words inside of their
They go and do
classroom. We want them to, I guess it's part of me too, knowing more of the curriculum that's happening maybe in the math and science realm, or even working like with our advanced learning facilitators for those kind of higher kids to kind of connect with math and science would be one of my thoughts moving forward.
Yeah, and I'd like to see, it was talked about today as a suggestion in our presentation, bringing in some experts, bringing in some people who are computer programmers. I would love to see more, more people come in and maybe do some demonstrations or work with the kids, get some female, role models too,
Representation, sure.
which would be great. So.
Well, I think it's wonderful. And I know you guys had a long day here and a lot of presentation, but we really appreciate you guys sharing with our group here. We're very proud of the work that you've done. I think it's really important that everybody knows that, the ability to present out in these types of environments is open to everybody. And, this is just a great example of something that was born out of curiosity and a little bit of passion. And they worked with a lot of people very hard to get it done. And it's exciting to see where it's come and where it's going to. So thank you again for presenting at ICE, and thank you guys more so for working, so hard on behalf of the kids. And I know it's getting late in the afternoon for them, so if you guys are, you're free to go whenever you want. We've got another group that we're going to highlight who also presented here at ICE. There are a couple of teachers from Thomas.
Yep.
If you want to talk a little bit about that lead-in.
Yeah, so I had a video sent to me earlier today from Enda Kelly and Renee Fitzsimmons. Renee is the ALF over at Thomas, and Enda is one of the technology teachers, as well as teaches some creative arts, which are technology based as well. And so yeah, they couldn't join us this afternoon since they were presenting so early, but they were nice enough to send a video kind of explaining what their presentation was all about as well. And so we're going to play that for you right now.
Yeah, just imagine that they're here with us.
That's right, exactly. So give me 1 second to share my screen, and we're just going to play this video for you. We'll be back with you in a couple minutes.
Hi, and welcome to ICE 2015. I'm Renee Fitzsimmons.
I'm Enda Kelly.
And our presentation that we did at ICE was a half-day workshop called Follow the Digital Brick Road to Differentiation. And basically, we presented on Thursday morning to a nice diverse crowd of people, and they were teachers and some principals, and basically what we were trying to talk a little bit about was the principles and the pedagogy of personalized learning and how it connects with
technology. So yeah, for all the 7 components of personalized learning, we just set apps, 3 or 4 apps for each component for all the people to take away with them. They seem pretty receptive to it. Yeah, worked across all platforms, so a lot of it was web-based. You didn't need an iPad for it. So people seemed happy with that.
And essentially what we tried to do was we tried to talk a little bit about TPAC and how it was important to understand and embrace the pedagogy first of the idea of personalized learning and how that could lend itself naturally and organically to differentiation. And then by knowing that pedagogy, how you can elevate the learning using technology and bring it to a more innovative level. So going off of some of the components that we worked on in our District 25, the 7 components are basically documenting and reflecting, questioning, peer feedback, self-monitoring, self-assessment, and planning. And the idea being that it's not linear, and we don't just start with questions and ask questions and then never ask questions again and then only do assessment and reflection at the end, but that the 7 components are ongoing and it's cyclical. And so what we were trying to do was give good differentiation strategies to teachers to walk away with, and then also set up a structure for a sound and somewhat guided personalized learning experience and journey, but without putting too many constraints and too much structure on the process, but also giving some kind of structure so that those kids that can't handle these crazy open-ended projects that have no guidelines, that they would be able to be successful with that too. So having said that, some of the technology that we talked about, we gave a good basis for how to differentiate, but then we talked a little bit about planning, and some of the apps that we used for planning were
Notability, explain everything.
so for, I think for the
No, we didn't have any.
we didn't have any of
No,
those.
tired. Sleep last night. Tired.
But for planning, basically what we did was we tried to talk a little bit about some of the concept map apps, and that one was called, I can't remember the name of that app. Mr. Higgins, I hope you're going to edit this part out. But there were some planning and concept mapping apps, and they were really helpful because you could customize them, you could change them along as you went, and they were also super easy to use for kids. And the biggest component of that was that it wasn't linear. It was more like an interactive and constantly changing plan, and that's a big thing behind the personalized learning experience. Then as far as documenting and reflecting, that's definitely when we talked a lot about, go ahead.
Yeah, which explain everything. A lot of people hadn't heard of that before, but they really liked the screencasting feature in it. Padlet, pretty straightforward bulletin board app.
And that one was also good for questioning because you could throw out a lot of questions, do an actual questioning activity where kids just question for 2 minutes straight, do nothing but question, and then you keep them all located in this one central location on Padlet. They can come back and revise and continually update.
Yeah, reflecting, he's explained everything and reflecting as well. Pictolage, another bulletin board, and we video online video editor.
Right, and for the questioning component, we definitely talked about how Padlet could be used for the questioning activities. We gave them some access to an actual questioning lesson, and then we talked a little bit about peer feedback and how important it is in the process of personalized learning, that it shouldn't be just done at the end, but it should be ongoing. And some of the apps that we talked about were Notability, and how Notability with that voiceover feature could be used to give each other great feedback that comes from a friend that could help them end up growing in their growth process. Then basically we talked about a little bit of the self-monitoring and assessment, and we talked a lot about using rubrics and how using those rubrics will help keep kids on task and recognizing whether or not they put forth the appropriate amount of effort and what they achieved based on that rubric. We definitely talked a lot about finding a way to encompass all of those 7 components in one central location, like through a spreadsheet or a wiki or an e-portfolio. And I'm trying to think of what else did we do. We played some games. We had a lot of fun.
Read some articles, peer tutoring.
Peer tutoring and how the personalized learning and student-driven inquiry-based projects are more successful. And then basically we do have, I know it's not projected behind us, but we do have a link to our presentation with links to all of the resources and the tech. If you're interested, you can reach out to Renee Fitzsimmons or
Kelly,
and we're here to help. Have a good day.
Good day. And that's the power cord that Mrs. Fitz tripped over 4 times.
Yay,
This one
ice!
here. This one here. Cool.
So that was Enda Kelly and Renee Fitzsimmons over at Thomas. And one of the big sort of themes, we've been wanting to have some guests on this show for quite a bit of time, and we figured ICE was kind of the best introductory episode for that, because it's sort of all about this sharing idea. We want you to ask these people questions. If you kind of like what they had to say today, we're curious about what their process or about their ideas, reach out to them. All 4 of them will be more than happy. If you're not comfortable just approaching them directly, that's what we are here for. That's what Tech 25 is all about, which is why Brad has popped in here.
Talk about smooth transitions.
Right.
We welcome in Brad Katz.
Brad Katz, who actually broke us into this room to be able to do our little video cast today.
It really does take a team.
It
takes a team of people to get this set up. A lot of work goes into the setup and configuration. Brad really helped us out today. So that's all here from ICE. We hope you guys have a great and safe night. And we'll see you for our next episode, episode 10, coming straight at you. Thank you again for watching.
Have a great night, everybody.